an exchange, which we loved, and we saw it happen. I mean, the last time I was here before the conference was a week before, and we were just wondering, are people going to fly in? So it was great to see the magic happen on that day, and knowledge was exchanged.
Okay,
yeah.
Knowledge was exchanged. Before we even delve deeper into some of the discussions and key takeaways out of that, the word data, what exactly is it? Do we have the same understanding of what that is and what
yes.
that looks
like.
and feels like?
Again, another reason why we held this was because we do understand that there has been a lot of reliance on government to explain or to drive some of these conversations regarding research and data. So what we understand is that research is the process, going in, digging information, finding out what people's thoughts are. And from that, we have what we call data. It's numbers now, what we have quantified to say, okay, there's a number of people that are saying this, and there's an opportunity here, and what does this number mean? Can it equate to some development, or can it now be used to develop some product and so on? So basically, it's information, essentially. Data, but it's basically just having it's information resource.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm asking you this for a specific reason. During COVID, for example, going into a store, you would have to write your names down, your details down. Going into any government department, that you have to put down your details there, and we call that data.
Yes.
And here we are talking about the importance of data in transforming the face of development. We talk about the importance of data from if you are a business and coming up with products.
Definitely.
So how exactly do we take all of that and use it in a manner that we say, well, this is data that's validated, and this is data that we can actually use to speak to the digital transformation agenda, for example, to speak to national development, for example?
Okay, so I'll talk about it using an example from one of the speakers when they were asked, how do we even ask, how do we get this information, and how do you know if it's valid? And then it all stems to how you ask the question. Because if you ask the right questions, then you get the relevant information. We can have a lot of data about people and everything that they're doing, but is it really something that you think is going to be useful for you in the end? In the end, the information that we collected during COVID could have been there for a specific reason, to quantify how many people entered into let's say hospital X, right? But if you don't ask beyond that, you're just going to get that. There were so many females as opposed to males, and that's it. But the more you go in deeper to find out, okay, in what industry does this person belong to, in what sector does this person belong to, and what times they got into then we can start honing in on a lot of things that essentially could then inform us what really hospital X. We think that the best times to open is probably between 6 a.m. and 8, because that's where most traffic is. And we need more people manning our desks so that we can help speed. If you don't collect that information, you're going to see queues and queues. Let's say, where do you need to resource, or where do you need to increase tables and nurses and so on. So yeah, basically, Kirai as an example, that's how you can utilize data. You need to find out first what you really want to get out of it.
Now, from the Botswana context, where we understand Statistics Botswana on its own generate 30% of data. The other 70% comes from organizations, comes from entities. But in terms of having that central point, in terms of having data, that, like you give an example of a hospital, where are we as a country, and are there any frameworks as well that support that generation, that production, and storage and the like?
Yeah, we were somewhere. Like you had just rightfully pointed out, we've got Statistics Botswana, we've got the Data Commission, which is just only setting up, I believe, and we've got a few policies coming up, but we still do need contribution from private sector to ensure, number one, which is the most pivotal one, to protect the data. Because if we don't have the right frameworks to protect data, we're going to lose out on a resource that we believe as a country can really benefit from. I remember in one of the conversations or the speech, the minister, he did say that data is the new diamond. And you know what happens with resources. If I date back to, colonial times, where now we're fighting over resources that are not, some of them are not us, or a certain percentage are not ours. So if we don't find ourselves implementing the right or really not implementing, but developing the right framework, saying how we can protect this data, we're going to find ourselves in the same dilemma. We are fighting over our own resource, which is knowledge, with MNOs that are outside Africa, over something that is ours. So that's, for me right now, what is key is how to protect it, because everyone is talking data. And obviously we know Africa's always the baby with the fruits, and everybody's grumbling for that. So it's protection for me.
The conversation around data being the new gold, we could easily say for the last 5 years, everybody has been saying data is the new gold. And we are here in Botswana having this conference for the first time. You make reference to the minister, which I believe is the Minister of Communications, Knowledge and Technology,
Yes.
That he was at this particular conference. I just want to understand from his ministry and from obviously the speech and the deliberations, the ministry drives digital transformation. The ministry really is pushing that knowledge based aspect of where we want to go as a country. Where are we from a government perspective, and from what he is saying, where are we as a country?
I think, having that ministry set up was the best thing. Let me just say that. Because I think in previous times, we understood that within every parastatal or government institution, an office, research, policy making. But now they've got a wholly dedicated and coordinating wing, which is that ministry, which I think it's great that it's coming from there. So research is not looked as just a byproduct or a must-have or to tick a box. From where they're standing, I believe from our engagements and the support that we've seen during this, this whole 2 months of preparing, they understand that research is important for socio-economic development, for policy making, for M&E, that's monitoring and evaluation, because but it's important that you understand, okay, you've put in so much, you got out this much, but what impact have you left behind in those communities? Because essentially we're just not looking at budgets, how much was put in and how much was put out, but we need to see if there was transformation in the community. Has the lives of people been changed? So that ministry does understand that, and it was, I think, if we couldn't have chosen a better partner for it, because the conversation was so easy to have.
Now, with that understanding that research is important, with that understanding that it should go beyond research, we should also look at the impact on communities, and with the data that's available at this particular time. We'll talk about transforming communities. From a Botswana context, what is it that we've been able to achieve out of that, and where we are found wanting, what is it that we ought to do to make sure that we actually use this data to come with what you guys call data-driven solutions?
I think what ought to happen is for private sector to take lead. Government can only do so much, honestly, and there's been a lot of reliance on them to do magic, but there's only so much that they can do. So if private sector can come to the party, develop also, do research, invest in research, partner with government, I think then coming up with products that are insight informed, the whole value chain conversation that we're talking about, then it becomes easier for us to accomplish. Where we've been talking about how can we expand the value chain, or derive more from the value chain. If research is done to understand what more we can get from diamonds than what we currently have, then private sector, industries can be, can boom. We can start thriving beyond what we're used to. And in the next 50 years, when we celebrate Bot 100, we can stop talking about, I'm not saying do a bad thing, but I'm thinking we can talk beyond just beef. We can talk about more things that can come from there. So for me, the take home is that let us reduce or limit our reliance on government to do everything. We've got the resources. They've done it through whatever statistics, so the information is there, but we need SMEs to come up, take advantage of the fact that data is the new resource, and let's let our industries thrive.
Now, you had 6 other African nations participate in this conference. What are the key learnings? What are we learning from them? Where are we in this conversation?
Africans are smart. I think that's what we got out of it, and it wasn't difficult for us to look for experts in those areas. We do have very competent, well-capacitated, knowledgeable brothers and sisters in the region. And what we got out of it is that also everybody is eager to trade amongst each other within the region. Whether from Kenya, from Uganda, forever, they are ready. And what we need as Botswana is to also look outside our borders, because we know that from experience, there's always that thinking that we're limited to just selling our products or conversing and networking with our own here. But people outside are eager to learn from us, as well as, to share the knowledge. So now what I got from those 6 countries is exactly that. Borders are open. It might be a little bit expensive, and maybe one day it'll be less expensive to travel to those countries, but it can only be so if we continue these conversations and we don't stick to our own little classrooms. Okay. There is appetite.
There is appetite. Yeah. Africans are smart, like you said. Let's just come back home then. We are on a digital transformation journey. There's a whole digital transformation strategy that's in place. And we all say all of these things, they're exciting, but at the same time, quite scary and a bit daunting as well. How does the digital transformation journey on its own as a country either aid or accelerate data generation, data production, such that when we speak what we want to do and how we can use this to come up with solutions, to come up with products, how does that aid that?
I think the digital journey that we're on is exposing that there's need for a lot of focus in what we're speaking about right now. It is aiding development and so on, but I think what is key for us, especially with the conference, is let's make sure that we are equipped. Once we go in and share everything and we go digital, we don't find ourselves naked at the end of the day, and we don't have or we don't own the information that is being shared on the digital space, because it's very easy for us to lose out on the information that we've worked so hard for. So I think that for us was key. Let us be ready. We don't want to be that underdog. At the end of the day, we're just looking at people to save Africa, as we tend to find ourselves in those kind of situations. But exposure, I think we need to be ready. It's exciting to see new apps being developed. It's exciting to sign up. It's exciting to always accept to buy apps. It's exciting to get into websites and register and do all of those things. But you need to find out. There's a lot of information that needs to come out to equip Botswana to know when you do enter your information, this is how far it goes and this is where it's going to go, and you might lose out on 1, 2, and 3. And I think we're also very honored to have in attendance one of our very own, David Mwepeng, who is big on data privacy issues, and he was talking to just that again. Also, one of our speakers was speaking again back to the issue of data colonization. This whole digital transformation journey, we do need frameworks that are in place to make sure that when we go digital, or while we are going digital, we are protecting ourselves as well.
Okay. Yeah. We talk about protection, and we do know that there is the one Data Protection Act that I think some people have been waiting for it to really take full force, and others are still trying to figure out how they get themselves in order for that to take full force. So when you talk about, as we go on this journey, we also ought to make sure that we are protected. Was there an opportunity through this conference to interrogate, to look at our very own data protection in terms of where does this data go, where is it stored, how is it stored, particularly because we're worried that it may not reside here?
Yes. I like that question, because as a first of many conferences that are going to take place, what was essential about this one was that we were using it as an opportunity to find out the key areas of concern that would then inform the next conversation of the conference, which is next year. So data protection came up as key. There wasn't an opportunity to further interrogate it, but we did see there is opportunity for us to take it forth as one of the key conversations that will be driving the conference for the next year.
Okay. Yeah. So data protection was a concern. Involvement of the private sector was quite critical. Involvement of SMMEs was quite critical. Yeah. Beyond these three, was there anything else that really popped out that was like a light bulb moment for you, either as a country, as the organizing team, or just as a region?
It's youth. I think for me, what came out very strong was that the youth are highly qualified. They have the knowledge. They are eager to learn. I mean, like I said, we had students also participating. Some of our academic institutions did have representatives. Ile banana, kirambo my second year, third year. So that eagerness that we saw was also very evident, or made it very evident going forward as a country. Let's make sure we do engage youth. They've got the ideas. And the ministry said throughout those conversations, I think, Lebone, they were able to see there is eagerness and there is an appetite. So when they have these high-level conversations, we're here. So they should call us in.
High-level conversations, you talk about the youth participating.
Yeah.
Let's look at what happens in academia, what happens in research, and what happens in conversations, and what actually obtains on the ground, the gap, and how do we close that gap?
It's conversations. I'll tell you why I'm saying this, because the conference is bringing just that. We needed to have somewhere where we start that conversation around research and data. And from there, we'll start finding out where the key areas are or where there's need for further development or interrogation, like we said. If we don't talk, we will never get to find out. So it's we need to talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was Tuduetso Mokgosi speaking to us from the People and Data 2024 conference. She is the People and Gap Director, basically telling us that one of the sound bites from the conference is that data is the new diamond, that the involvement of SMMEs, the involvement of young people, and the involvement of the private sector is quite critical in ensuring that we are able to leverage off data such that we're able to advance our national development, we're able to come up with data-driven solutions to the problems of today.
The BVI example is a